What's up, everyone? How's it going? LinkedIn and YouTube. Today, I am here with Laura Wilde. If you don't know who Laura Wilde is, where have you been? She is one of the most phenomenal trainers and mindset coaches that I have ever come across. Her ability to help get people in the zone is beyond anything I've ever seen. And when I say in the zone, I'm not just using sports terminology. I'm talking about sports. Laura works with some of the top athletes in the entire world. And I'll just go ahead and introduce yourself, Laura. You'll do a much better job than I could.
Hi, Mayan. I'm Laura Wilde, and I played basketball. I ran track, and I always realized that I was like not that great as I could be. So I love working with athletes who are great. So I work with athletes in the NBA, the WNBA, and I help them get in the zone and be healthier. So it's a great job to have. Like, I literally love my work, and it's really fun. I've been doing it for a couple of decades, working with athletes and coaching and on court and off the court. So both sides.
Yeah, well, I've got so many questions for you. I'm really excited that I get the opportunity to speak one-on-one with you. I connected with Laura through Clubhouse. You guys, I'm sure you've been hearing lots about Clubhouse. If you're not on the app, I think they just opened it up to Android users, if I'm not incorrect.
Yes.
So everyone, come on, get on Clubhouse, at least for a little bit. Try it out, see if you like it. I have a feeling that you will, and you may or may not get addicted, so don't blame me for that. But, Laura, how did you transition from being an athlete into coaching athletes? Like, what did that journey look like for you?
Well, it was really easy for me because when I graduated and I was 22, the head coach said, "Hey, you want to be my assistant coach? I'll pay you hardly any money, but you get to be an assistant college coach." I said, "Yeah," because I was young and dumb. And that actually worked its way the following season into a head coaching job. So I didn't even think about it. Actually, he kind of stole me away from broadcasting. I had plans to be the first ESPN female anchor. I'm dating myself, aren't I? But everyone said you should go be an anchor on TV, and I realized that work would not be good with a baby. I had a son, a baby. He's like an 8-month-old baby. So I went to coaching where I was going to have the flexibility and ability to have my kid with me, because you can't bring a kid in the studio, but you can bring him to the gym. So that's how my transition was. I was so lucky. It's like, oh, you want a job? So, I mean, some people pay a lot of dues, and my dues were playing basketball under this really mean coach.
I don't know if there's ever not been being a mean coach is part of the requirements, at least redundant. A little bit, I feel, in basketball.
Yeah. It's like redundant, mean coach. Okay. All of
it. Absolutely. So what were some of the skills that you developed while you were playing that made it so easy for you to quickly level up and make those transitions for, assistant, to go from assistant coach to head coach? That's a big responsibility leap in a single year.
Yeah, it really was. I read a lot of books, and I paid attention to practice, and our coach had practice plans, and I can be a little bit of a hoarder when it comes to information. So I would save the practice plan he had. So I just blueprinted everything. And I also was, as a player, I was always paying attention to the presses and the plays we ran. And then what the best part is, I had 20 mentors who were NCAA top coaches. And I was at a small school, but this big tournament came to our school, and I got to meet all the coaches because they were like, "Hey, can you Xerox this for me?" Like, literally Xerox. Like, "Can you make copies of this tournament packet? It costs $150. If you make copies, it'll help us." I was like, "Okay." So all these coaches gave me their card, and now I had 20 new mentors. It was incredible. So I would call the coach at Stanford and say, "Hey, do you guys have," you could call people easily. "Hey, do you guys have any practice plans?" I would call the coach at Kentucky. "Do you guys have any information I can use? I'm a new coach." And everyone just supported me. It was incredible.
That's amazing. And I want to point out to everyone who's watching and listening, how Laura did that was she provided value first to these coaches. And you might think, I come across this so many times where people think, oh, I'm way less accomplished than this person, so what value could I possibly provide them? It's like, everyone needs things. and Xerox, copying something probably wasn't that hard for you. It didn't, tap into necessarily a lot of your skills, but that didn't mean it didn't provide massive value to those coaches. And because of that one value exchange, you formed these incredible, powerful relationships. And so I want to point that out because I think it's in people's heads much harder then the reality of what it is, sometimes it can be very easy to form these really powerful relationships if, you're willing and you're eager and you figure out what value that is that people need, and kind of just listening to the universe and where it's guiding you. Like, am I right? You didn't necessarily have that idea. They just came to you and asked for that
Right. They
that
came to
happening.
me and yeah, and you can hear me, yeah?
Yep, I can hear you. Yep.
They came to me and asked me for, okay. Yeah, they asked me to help them. But the other thing is, I remember just when you said that, I used to work at a barbecue restaurant in high school and Burger King. So I was so good at taking care of customers. And they were just like my customers at the restaurant because I didn't work in college, but I had a great sense of customer service, something kind of lost on our youth of today, if you ask me. So my customer service was top notch. And the coaches were like, we feel like we're at home because I was so, giving and serving. Where do you want to eat? I know all the places. And I had called and made reservations. Yeah. So, and I was literally a 22-year-old newbie. And these were the giants of the NCAA, the Stanford coach, the USC coach, the UCLA coach. I was in awe of them because they had been in the game for, a decade or more. So yeah, like you said, I didn't try. I just took the opportunity in front of me and did my best.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because your previous experience set you up to be successful at it, even though it seemingly was not connected. Like, you wouldn't think barbecue joint, basketball, those have any connection, but clearly they did. And that's something I love to remind people about. It doesn't matter how much you think that your past doesn't have connection to your future. It always does. The things that you've learned in previous jobs, previous situations always add value to what you're able to do now. So take us next to, now you're a head coach. What happened? What happened next?
So I was a head coach and I loved it, but I was actually coaching some of the players I had played with. It was a little challenging. So when I saw a job open up in California, which was my dream place to live, they didn't even fly me out there. I had to pay my own way. So I talked to my uncle. Uncle, I have a job interview in California. Can I come visit you and go to the interview? Sure, niece. I'll buy the ticket. So my son and I fly out there and I'm hired on the spot. I literally have an interview and the players say, we want her. Do you want the job? On the spot. I mean, they didn't think about it. I didn't think about it. And I knew I wanted to be the head coach of the UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs. So I said yes. And then I moved my son out to Santa Cruz. So I had a quick opportunity to change and it was really fun.
So, okay, you got to tell me real quick about this name. Did you say Banana Slugs?
Yes. So there's a famous shirt that John Travolta wore in, what's that like awful movie? Not awful, but like a violent movie he was in. And he wore a shirt that said slug, banana slugs. And the UC Santa Cruz mascot is the banana slugs. That shirt made that bookstore like $1 million additional revenue, I think a year, because the banana slug got so popular because John Travolta wore the banana slug shirt in a movie. Pulp Fiction.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Is it because there's like a lot of banana slugs around? Is that why? Like they chose it?
Yeah, they're actually out there in the woods. Yeah, you can see them in the woods. And it's funny because I changed our team's nickname instead of the banana slugs to the run-in slugs, which is kind of a great little oxymoron, right? So we were a full court pressing team. We went by the run-in slugs, and those shirts were a hit too. We did like a fundraiser with those shirts to fund the trip to Alaska. So it was the mascot was an always giving, never ending piece of fun,
That's awesome. So what kind of caused you to branch out just from coaching into, coaching a team into coaching individuals? Because, most of the basketball coaches I know, like that's a, 30, 40, like they do that till they retire and then they come back from retirement and then they get forced to retire again. So what kind of caused you to go in a slightly different direction than, let's say, the norm?
Well, I found that I could make more money as an independent consultant. So I started doing lecturing and consulting, and I got to travel more. So when I was coaching, I had to stay wherever the team was, and I could only travel to the extent of the team's budget. Once I became a consultant, I could move around. And so working with players also, with helping players be great off the court, which would carry over onto the court, helps me get away from some of the frustrations of coaching, because when I coached, I didn't always have the budget. I couldn't hire a me, but I knew how to be the me, but I also wanted to do it in a way I could get paid for it, paid well. And women coaches, especially back then, were not making the money that men are unless you're in like one of the top 3 programs. So financially, it wasn't helpful for me. So I went off and started consulting people regarding the sports and athletes and college admission.
Super cool. So did you start doing that while you were still a coach, or did you make this like leap where you stopped coaching and went right into this?
Well, I made a little small leap to Pepperdine Law School because I decided I wanted to actually like have a cause. I was going to do civil rights and child support law. I was there about 2 years, and I realized that I was going to be pushing a lot of papers, probably for a decade, or working for pennies. So long story short, in the summer, I was offered a speaking gig for athletes, and it paid $800 for half an hour, and I had 5 half an hours over 5 days. And back then, that'd be like if I made like $3,000 a day now. I mean, that was the rate that it felt like, right? Because 800 paid my whole rent.
Yep.
So, and that was my California rent, right? That's a lot of money back
Yeah.
then for California rent. So I traveled around the country. I did all these talks, and some man was in the audience and said, "Can you come create a program for us in Mississippi with the company that I work for? It's a cell phone company." And I went and made, twice as much money doing that program as a consultant. And then I started really getting my name out there, got a lot of training over the next 10 years. With the extra money I made, I invested it right back into me, took training, got certification in mind body medicine. And next thing you know, I'm connecting with the big guys in the NBA. And I kept track of all my connections and mentors from age 22. And they literally are part of why I'm in the NBA. The people I met back, when I was in my 20s, literally kind of lifted me up and put me in the right places. Yeah, it's a big, full, beautiful circle.
I'm curious, like logistically, how did you keep track of everyone? Did you have like a little black book, or, what were you using? This was, I might be wrong, this was before kind of social media was a big thing, right?
Yeah. Yep. I still have it. I keep it in a nice box. I had a little brown leather phone book, and everyone was written alphabetically in order with their school name. And I kept that with me everywhere I went. It was very precious. And then I would write it down like in other notebooks so I wouldn't lose it. Because back then you could lose a phone number and there was no cloud. It was like on paper. So yeah, I have a little brown leather book with I actually obviously vividly can recall it, even though I haven't seen it in a few months. It's somewhere in a closet. But little gold rings, brown leather book with pockets in the front and back. I put it in a nice, beautiful, like fancy, like felt shoebox to keep for good keeping, because it's so fun to look at it and go, oh my gosh, and some of the coaches have the same phone number because they were all starting to have cell numbers because they were getting cell phones paid for by the school. I didn't have one the first year or two because it was only people who made like 6 figures,
That is so cool. You saying that makes me think like that's not a bad idea to do these days, because I mean, we've got our social media, we've got our CRM softwares, like I use Pipedrive, but there's so many people that I have in those. I think you're prompting me to want to get like my own physical little, telephone address book to write like the most important people in, so that I can, always go to that and think about, okay, let me just go through this and like, message these people and keep in touch and build those relationships. Yeah. And I think there's also something about writing physically that helps really cement someone or something in your mind in a different way than when we're looking at it on a screen. So this has given me some great ideas already. I'm really excited about that. I'd love to hear about some of your work that you do. And if you could just share a little bit about, like, for people who don't know what it is that you do, could you describe some of that consulting? Like, what are the practices? What are the methods that you use?
Yeah. So with NBA and WNBA and MLB, or Major League Baseball players, as if people don't know what MLB, but they know what NBA is. So sorry, sometimes I'm like, well, NBA, everyone knows that. So what I do is I created 2 things. One is quantum sports medicine, and the other is quantum player development. So what I do with those 2 things is I kind of had this combination practice where athletes get sessions from me and it helps them be healthier. And I'm also teaching them to get into the zone and to learn how to get into the zone on command, because even the great athletes will talk about the zone, and it's like they're explaining a once in a season thing or a once in a lifetime thing. But the zone is actually repeatable and it's findable. Every day you can get into the zone if you learn how. So I'm teaching athletes how to create a path to the zone so they can get there time and time again. And that's part of why they stay healthy. But I also have been working in the field of mind body medicine, epigenetics, energy medicine, which I'm sure that's the kind of thing right up your alley. And those types of things are helping athletes overcome old fear, tendencies towards self-sabotage, or we block ourselves, right? Like if you're stressing out about stuff or you're in the way of your own self and you get mind body medicine sessions, that can go away. So then you can be healthier during the season, better with your money, etc. So that's the work I do. I love it. It's a lot of one-on-one. I kind of have a rule not to do large group sessions with pro athletes. It just doesn't work that well unless you know them for a long time. And the players get traded so much, you can't really know them a long time as a group. So especially as a woman, I don't want to be trying to like preach to 15 multi-million NBA players. But one-on-one, they'll actually be vulnerable and present and authentic. That's the best way to work with them in my book.
That's fascinating. And yeah, these are all things that I would say intuitively have known about, my whole life since getting into sports, but really I've only started studying and, consuming information in the past year. And it's fascinating how connected our mind, and it's also funny that we haven't realized this before, that our mind is so connected to our body when our mind literally exists inside of our head is not separate from our body and our brain is inside of our head. It's part of our body. So of course our thoughts are going to affect, our health and how we feel, but it's something that's so new to society and even like medicine and science. And one of the books that I just read recently was called The Art of Impossible. And it kind of, it talks about the zone and they use the word flow or flow state. And there is a cycle that you can go through that gets you into flow state, that gets you into the zone. And there are triggers as well that get you into the zone. So I'd love for you to share some of the, things that you've discovered and seen work really well in terms of, what are those triggers? How do people set themselves up to consistently get in the zone?
Yeah, it's funny. I just picked up that book and I have it sitting across the room. I was like, I'm going to read this book this week. So
you're going to love it.
Like the way I was taught to, okay, good. Everyone's like, you're going to love this book. So what I do with athletes is it's similar. I think it's all similar. We all kind of have a similar process. One of the main differences is I'm really having them create a place. So the trigger is something that's easily repeatable. And I had to practice a lot, and I guide them through it because sometimes it helps to have my voice guiding them there every time. I always make my people an MP3 so they have an audio recording of me getting them there. And it's, sometimes they'll say it feels like hypnosis, even though it's not hypnosis. It feels like it because they get relaxed. And it's like the triggers are, as soon as I do this, I shift into this state. And then I'm shifting and my brain waves are slowing down. And now I'm using my imagination. And I think, Stephen Kotler, the author of that book, is very scientific based, which is funny because the word flow is the woo-woo term for the zone, but he's very scientifically based on it, and I'm always like, well, you're using the word flow, which is scientific, which is woo-woo, and I love to use the word zone, which is the science word. So I feel that there's, a lot of similarities in how people teach everyone how to get in the zone. The main thing that I noticed that is often missing is that people will say, sit down and do this exercise, but that doesn't help you when I was like sitting. See, it doesn't help you when you are on the basketball court. So I want to make sure they can take it from the chair to the court, or from the chair to the bench, from like, how do you operate in everyday life in the zone? It's not something you go and hang out in 15 minutes on a couch and practice it like you're in the flow state. I really have crafted the best way to get someone to take the zone into every aspect of their lives. And that's really key. If you can't get there all the time, every aspect of your life, especially when you need it, when you're under duress, there's no point. For me, I like to use it when I'm flying down the highway in LA and there's cars everywhere. I want to be in the zone because I want to be connected to everyone. The collective unconscious is where we connect. And then you can even tap into other people because everyone has an energetic blueprint. What if I can tap into the energetic blueprint of a really brilliant scientist, which I do all the time, or, the best spiritual teacher, or a basketball coach. Or for the players, I had them tap into their basketball idol, because even the best guys in the pros have a guy or a girl they love. So I had them tap into the energy or the essence of that person. So now when they're playing, they get more than they practice for, because they bring in the essence and the blueprint of other talent. Because I believe talent is like a little package. So this little package, it's almost like there's a big, huge wall in the universe, right? And a little package of each person's talent is there, because it doesn't belong to the person. It belongs to all of us. So I help players tap into the universal talent that is there as a blueprint for anyone to pick up and use. You just have to like scoot into the right space, right? Find the lane and find that zone where you can tap into the greatest that you could ever imagine. So you get to be better than you ever imagined. It is not the key. Is to get to pull together all the resources of the quantum field, of the morphogenetic fields that are out there, and be your best in a way that's not stressful.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You've said something just now that I've never heard before, but I love looking at talent as a form of energy, not something that like each of us, has ownership over, but something that exists within us, but is accessible to other people, because energy is, we're everything is energy. Like literally, we're all made up of atoms.
Yes.
Atoms are a form of energy. And that's a really interesting concept. I'd love to hear you talk maybe a little bit more about like, how does that work? And what makes talent a different form of energy? Or how is talent different than, let's say, the energy like emotional energy, right? Like I think emotional energy is something that people are much more aware of, because you can walk in a room and you can feel that energy. How does talent compare to that?
Yeah, I think for me, the way I look at it is talent is a ball of excellence. So great talent and excellence are on the same frequency. So if you're looking at things like the way Dr. David Hawkins describes the map of consciousness, he has these levels, right? Like at a lower level, we are in anger or pride or fear. And at the highest levels, we're in peace and love. And he numbers each of these. So he numbers, and you know this. I'm just, saying it for anyone who hasn't heard of this
Yes.
concept, right? So 500 is a level of love. And the level of love is where we run into excellence. We embody excellence. And talent really is at that space, which is why sometimes people are inconsistent, right? And a lot of this is about our ability to surrender what's in us instead of me doing it. Laura is not playing basketball. Basketball is being played. And so if I'm playing basketball, I'm probably using my talent in a way that's very connected to my ego. But if I surrender a tiny bit and I'm in the zone, I'm actually letting the game be played through me. And that's where I have access to the talent of all the greats who've ever come before me. And that to me is the energy of talent. It's like excellence and surrender. Emotional energy is really, it can be very subjective. It's very connected, very based on other humans and connecting to them. And emotional energy isn't necessarily this higher vibration unless we're talking about the emotion of joy and love. Anything below, intelligence is not a high vibrational energy, like pride and the right, basic intellect. Those are not high vibrations. So once you go beyond that to, to love and peace and joy, that's where talent lies. Talent is not hanging out in fear and pride. It might look like talent, but it's not sustainable. So those are the inconsistent people, especially athletes. Those are the ones who start getting hurt after a few years. I say, you're only going to be able to play off that anger for so long. And then your anger will tear your body down, because that's what anger does. It makes us sick. It makes us injured. Fear, the same thing. So, we have to look at our health and our physical, emotional, and mental health as reflecting how we're kind of viewing the world, right? Our perception is going to be a lot of the reflections back to us, and our body will hold those things. So when athletes hurt themselves all the time, I'm pretty good at lecturing. Oh, what are you angry about? I'm not angry. Yeah, you are. I see how you play your basketball tight. You ain't in no flow, bro. So it's like, no, they're like, I'm good. I go, I'm good. I go, not that good. You're like 4 for 8 from the field. That's 50%. That's half. It's not even better than half, So I can be quite sarcastic, because sometimes the guys need it. Because you know what? Especially if you grew up in a traumatic household, if I come along and I go, oh, sweetie, they don't operate with that. But if I'm like, good, you were like 4 for 12. Like that's what they heard all their lives. They listen. They're used to that. So I try to find the thin line between being really loving without forgetting what people are used to and what they might need, because if I'm too loving, I'm just, I don't like that. Not used to that. Some guys are good with that, and some aren't. So, some of the guys will call me Auntie Laura. Uh, others will think I'm just like the weirdest person they've ever met, but they're still cool with that. Like, oh, you're always reading books. Do you meditate? And so just being me gets them interested in like what I'm up to. So yeah, but I can also, I got some street cred here and there because I did, play college basketball. I can still dribble, I can still shoot. So when I come at them, I understand the game. I was a coach. I can literally discuss the offense or, hey, that screen when you curled around that was amazing, And I think they were a little surprised at first that I know the game so well. But also I understand the game matched with their talent when they surrender and how great they can be. And so it's my job to point at people. Look how great you are. Look how great you are. And I will point at them and tell them how great they are until they see it themselves. And that's the moment where I know, like literally, they are now so empowered that, my players don't need me for a long time. I just want to get them to the place. So for me, I'm all about building people up. And at that point, let them be their own champion. I don't need credit for it. Like that's their championship. That's their champion energy. They said yes to something within them. Their divine spark is like completely aligned, with the greatest intelligence of the infinite intelligence of the universe. So I know sometimes I start talking like this and some people go, whoa, slow down, girl. But really, this is what the best stuff is made of. And if you're not experiencing excellence, maybe you should talk like that a little more, because maybe that's a place to tap into, that the idea of the infinite intelligence and what's beyond just our brain, our mind, what's beyond that. There's more.
Yeah, no, I love that. And when you're bringing up the game being played through you, I think a more concrete example of that maybe some people will connect with is if you've ever watched a basketball game and a player who normally doesn't score a lot of three points shots, or a player who normally doesn't perform in a particular way, and all of a sudden they get hot. And it could be the screens, it could be steals, it could be 3-pointers, and you might wonder how is that really think about it. How is it possible that someone who doesn't have the talent the way we normally would think about it to perform that way all of a sudden can so consistently perform that way? It's because the game's being played through them. It's not even their talent. It's talent that they're tapping into, that they have access to through the universe, through the energy that is around them and surrounding them on that court. And I think that's such a cool concept that if we can get ourselves into the zone, we have the ability to perform in whatever way is necessary for the team. And again, team could mean a lot of different things. It could be the other people in your family. It could be the other people in your business, and how you're stepping up to the table to be in a place of excellence to create the biggest possible win for that part of your life or that portion of your life. So that's just fantastic. Laura, you are so incredible. I want to know, what are you up to now? Yeah. And what are you up to next?
Well, so I love athletes can learn to get in the zone. They can be great, score more points, get more steals. And wouldn't it be nice if everyone can learn to get in the zone, make more sales, be better parents, get over inconsistency, get rid of the pain, not crash and burn anymore, learn how to be more confident and make more money, et cetera, all that stuff. Learn how to make reels and go on Instagram with confidence. And, getting in the zone is something that is accessible once you learn it. So I'm launching a zone class for anyone and everyone. It'll literally be a type of class where, you can kind of take it and make it your own space. So no matter what someone does for a living, or even if they're not making a living and they are a housewife, or, they're a student, they're waiting to see what they're going to do. It helps with all of that, because the zone really is a magical place where we are our absolute best. So I'm launching the zone class in June. I'm just literally gathering the information of people who are interested now, putting the class together, making sure it covers everything, getting my guest speakers lined up. And it's so much fun because I like to change what I do every once in a while. So I'm having a lot of fun because I can still work with my athletes. It's about the playoffs. Some guys will be out of the seasons quickly. WNBA season is really short. And my main baseball guy is a pitcher. He only pitches, every, I don't know, once a week, maybe twice a week. So I'm managing everyone and also kind of launching this whole zone class to make sure that it's accessible to everyone, because athletes shouldn't get all the best of the world, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So could you talk real quickly? And well, actually first, if you guys are interested in what Laura's talking about, if you're interested in understand how to get into the zone for whatever it is that you do in your life, make sure to reach out to Laura. She's here on LinkedIn. She's on Instagram. She's on Clubhouse. Just search her name and I'll put it in the comments, and I'll put links in the comments so you guys can find her easily. But talk a little bit to, like we've talked about physical health. I'd love for you to talk about the zone's impact on mental health and happiness and what you've seen with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I realized that I have to add the healing zone into the actual zone. So I do lots of mind-body medicine sessions, healing work for people who, whether it's like a severe issue they're struggling with, or they just have headaches, or they're just not happy or depressed. So when we're in the zone, we kind of experience this euphoria. So people who take these types of classes from me, they actually say, oh, I sleep better now. It's because once we learn to train our mind to be in other states beside our beta waking state, if we can get our mind to the alpha and the theta state, it actually lends itself to us getting into the delta state of sleep. So the delta rhythm is a slower rhythm where we actually have our deep sleep. And if you want to recover, whether it's from life or from playing a game, you have to get delta sleep, or it's hard to recover and feel rejuvenated the next day. So, and as we know, sleep is really conducive to health. But I also do, the type of healing work I do is very specific sometimes. Someone may come to me for kidney stones, and all that can be something that we have some power to do for ourselves. Healing is not for other people, it's for all of us. And so I'm going to show people how to do some self-healing techniques, because there are really simple things that keep our brain balanced, to keep us, out of fight or flight. And so why shouldn't everyone learn these types of things? I've learned them. I used to get chronic colds, strep throat, bronchitis all the time, every flu that came through, and I'm so incredibly healthy now, going on for a few years, and it's especially these last 2 years. Wow, how fortunate am I to just have had zero fear of anything. It's like my immune system's so strong. Like I'll lick a germ off the floor and not worry. I don't care.
Yeah,
but I could.
I'm right there with you. Like ever since I really started doing a lot of work on really my mindset, and obviously like I do a lot of exercise as well, but really I feel a lot of it's from the mindset work, and really, training my brain in how it is functioning and how it's responding to different environments and stimuli. I've been so healthy. Like I have had zero concerns. People ask me, they're like, oh, you're not worried about traveling? It's COVID. I'm like, no, I've been around so many people, like,
Right.
I have zero concern. Yeah. Like, I go outside, and part of it, I'm like, my immune system's great because I've got 4 dogs and they're filthy, filthy animals. So I'm already exposed to like every, speck of bacteria and whatever that there could be. And I think there's really something to that, because I go and I spend a lot of time outside. And I think for a lot of people from COVID, they've spent, too much time inside. And that I think can, hurt your immune system a little bit. But in general, I just want to point out, you guys, getting in the zone is literally something that can be a solution to absolutely every aspect of your life, from your career to your personal relationships. Because think about how this applies to relationships. When you're in the zone, you connect with people so much more easily. Like you can feel their energy, you can understand how to help them and bring value to them. And then, like your physical health, your mental health, all of these things are highly affected by being in the zone. And then one more thing I want to point out was what you said about euphoria. So again, I learned this in the Art of Impossible book. It's because when you get in the zone, your brain is producing like 5 or 6 of our feel-good chemicals at the same time. You're getting dopamine, you're getting anandamine, you're getting norepinephrine, you're getting like serotonin, you're getting a bunch of drugs, chemicals,
Yep.
and you feel really good. And they've done studies where they, look at the dopamine spikes in people's brains when they're in the zone. And literally it compares to the same amount of dopamine you'll get when you're on cocaine. That's how powerful it is. Yeah, it's like 700% more than like usual. And this affects your performance.
So just
think about
the class.
Yeah. Think about, things you may have heard or experienced, no judgment here, about people who are on cocaine, about their high level of focus, about their high level of energy, right? Those are things you can achieve without having to take recreational drugs, but just by training yourself and using the the techniques and the routines that Laura is putting together to get yourself into the zone. So I'm super excited. I am for sure going to be interested in taking your course, your program, however it ends up turning out. So please keep me informed on that, and I'll be happy to share with, everyone that I know. Anytime I find something good, it's like I want to just share it with everyone. I don't know why people feel like keeping secrets. Like it's not fun. It's fun to share things. And the more of us that can be successful, I'm sure everyone knows the old saying, rising tides raise all ships. And it's really true. Like the more that the people you surround yourself with can be successful and happy, the more that's going to contribute to your ability to be successful and happy. So thank you so much, Laura, for taking the time to share all of your wisdom and insights and just energy and excitement with everyone. Are there any kind of last things you want to make sure to leave people with or that they pay attention to?
Well, maybe one of my favorite concepts is to remind people that you're not a bag of bones at all. You have a physical body, an emotional body, a mental body, a supramental body, like your intuition and your wisdom. You can learn to be more intuitive in the zone. And then you have like your cosmic body, the part of you that's connected to everything. So when I teach zone class, we're going to literally look into all these different aspects of ourselves, because that's how you really get to the level of true health and homeostasis. And so I'm just teaching what I've learned and what's really worked for me and transformed my life. And I want to be of service. I'm here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me. There's never any pressure. I don't have to buy anything. I mean, I talk about this a lot all over the place. So I love to, give as much of it away as I can. So I love to share the information. Like you said, we have to share the good stuff we learned so that we can all rise together. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, again, I'll post some of the links to be able to get in touch with Laura. But just search her name. It's let's see. Oh, it doesn't show it on the screen, but it's Laura. And then she's got such, I love your last name because it's Wilde with an E on the end of it. So Wilde. I'm real curious before we hop off. Does that come from any like origin or anything like that?
I've been using that name for 10 years. You know why? And it's actually my legal name. And there was a woman who wrote a series of books called Laura M. Wilde. What's the M stand for? Mitchell. Some horrible person, I don't know if it was a woman or man, wrote a series of books called Who Killed Laura Mitchell? And anytime someone searched me, they found that. Like, oh, no. Horrible. They'd say, oh my God, I was looking for you. Because what happened is when the internet first came out, my old college friends were trying to find me. And some people said, I thought you were dead. I'm like, what? So I worked with this branding coach, and I have a lot of English blood in me. And I was a literature major, and Stuart Wilde is my favorite metaphysician. And all through high school and college, you know me, like even though I'm sitting here in front of a phone, if the camera was a wide pan, I'd be leaping over here and dancing over here and picking up, crystals and unicorns. So everyone's always said, girl, you are so wild. You're wild. So and they would literally say Laura Wilde. It was like a nickname, Laura Wilde, or Laura is wild. So it just kind of fit, and it took away from the Who Killed Laura Mitchell Google searches. So I got it legally changed, and I kept the M because my son, Adrian Mitchell, is an incredible ballet dancer in Russia, and he wanted to make sure we kept our connection. So yeah, Wilde has literally got a wild story of its own.
Oh my God, that's so cool. We just got like some awesome branding information right there, which I think like that so applies to anyone. If someone's already calling you something and it's catchy, like boom, own that ish and take it to the next level. So again, Thank you so much for being here. We are going to end the live stream now, you guys. Feel free to reach out to myself, to Laura. If you have questions about the zone, post them in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.